My name is Roland Parrish. I'm the CEO of Parrish Restaurants Limited, and I'm the founder and president of Parrish Charitable Foundation. My restaurant company, we actually started by sending in an application to McDonald's Corporation in 1987, and it was handily rejected. I never filled out another application, but I was very diligent, and I persevered calling the corporation over the phone for 3 months, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 o'clock a.m. to find out why I had been rejected. And I always asked Ruth Anderson, who was on the letter as a franchising manager, my reject letter, which I do have framed in my office right now. And so because of my background with Exxon, which is now ExxonMobil, and it was a retail background running service stations, as few as one, but as many as 600, I was able to get the opportunity to enter their training program. And the training program consisted of working 2 years free at a McDonald's restaurant for 25 hours a week. And this was on top of the 50 hours a week because I was a mid-manager at Exxon Corporation, working 50 hours a week. And I had to commute 10 hours a week to go to the restaurant, plus the 25 hours free, not minimum wage, free. So I was working an 85-hour work week for 2 years in Houston, Texas, to get the opportunity to become a licensed franchisee of McDonald's. And we were given an opportunity to come to Dallas and to an area called Pleasant Grove, in which we looked at the site, we drove the community, and I felt that there was a lot of potential. They were building a new school, Frederick Douglass. There was a young lady by the name of Pat Mays, who's going to be the first principal. They were building a new Exxon station. They had just built a new police station, was going to be the Southeast Precinct. And so with that, we felt it was a great opportunity. And so we opened on Juneteenth of 1989. And so my background with my parents, my father was a Baptist minister involved in the civil rights movement, and later he was a pastor and also a a city councilman in Hammond, Indiana. And they did a lot of work in the community. So giving back to the community was part of what I did. Also in the McDonald's system, Ray Kroc taught to give back to the community. And when we first opened, we didn't have a lot of money, but we gave $500 to a local YMCA on our grand opening. And so in 2015, we filed the paperwork using our CPA and filed the paperwork with the IRS to start a 501c3, which we called Parrish Charitable Foundation. And so that was the beginning of a official charity in 2015. Most people that know me will say that I'm a good listener, because there's a lot of ideas that are generated from people. There's a lot of garbage that's also generated from people. But usually, whether I'm at a desk or in a one-on-one conversation or even in the bathroom, I'm trying to listen, because even at my tender age, I still feel that there's a lot that I can learn. And so I think by listening, also if people are in need, say for the charity, if I can listen and ascertain what they need, what they're talking about, that helps, even with my business. And then two more points I'll mention is one of my I guess it's a practice I use for leadership. It's called trust times respect, like a mathematical equation. So if my employees trust me and they respect me, then I can influence to do things that they should do when I'm not around. So trust times respect equal influence. Okay. Well, I mentioned initially that I was rejected from McDonald's Corporation. And I'm glad that that young man who was in his mid-30s, who knew no one in this Fortune 500 company, decided to challenge the Fortune 500 company because they felt that they should be engaged in that company. Two, I'm glad that I started in corporate America, which at that time, Exxon was the #1 corporation ranked by the Fortune 500. And so I started with #1, and I felt that I could go all the way to the top. And, I saw that I couldn't. And so I knew that I was going to have to leave corporate America. And I was actually studying for a CPA to become a certified public accountant, because then I felt that I could go out, build up a clientele while still working at Exxon, And eventually I would have a clientele that I could move from Exxon to my own practice. So I knew that I was going to have to leave corporate America, even though I knew while I was there, I had to get and retain and attain everything that I could. So those are two hurdles. There have been many more, but I usually look at the hurdles as opportunities, and like they're mountains to climb, and pray to God that He gives me the strength to climb them. I think I have a reasonable list of things that I've done that I'm really proud of. For the community right now, the community in Dallas, Texas, for the southern sector, for the Oak Cliff area, it was around 2016 or 17. I was introduced to a gentleman by the name of Peter Brodsky, and I became an early investor in what we call the Shops at Redbird, the Redbird Mall project. And so I'm very proud that I'm the number 2 investor behind Peter. And I mean, the next big thing I'm looking at there is for the grocery store, Tom Thumb, which should open late 2025 or 2026. So right now, that's what I'm most proud of in the community that I've done. And I think probably the main two for young people is first, study hard, embrace your academics, embrace listening to counsel, and work hard in school. Don't play in school. Let's try to get the best education that you can, and education is kind of the great equalizer. It helps bridge the have-nots into, to me, being part of the and living the American dream. For those who want to get in business, the number one thing I tell them is you don't get in business to get rich. You get in business to pay the bills, hopefully, to pay the mortgage, to put the children through school. And if you get in business, live beneath your means. Don't live above your means. Live beneath your means. And as the rapper Nipsey Hussle would say, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And just realize that you're going to have some long hours if you're trying to get in business. So those are two for those who are academic minded, and then for those who want to be entrepreneurs.
My name is Royce West. I'm a state senator for Senate District 23, which is the Dallas area, including several cities in the south: DeSoto, Grand Prairie, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, Lancaster, Wilmer, Hutchins, and of course, the city of Dallas, and I represent close to 1 million people. Also an attorney, and I've been an attorney actually about 40-something years now, about 42, 43 years. And I practice in the Oak Cliff area at my own building, which we built from the ground up. And I have offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. I mean, I've been a state senator now since like 1990. I was elected in 92, sworn in office in 1993. So what is that? That ends up being 30. I'm in my 31st year now. Okay. Well, I mean, frankly, it was a dream, first of all. I mean, I attended the University of Houston and graduated from there in 1979. Always wanted to come back to Dallas, even though I had a job in Houston at the Harris County District Attorney's Office. I was offered a job here in Dallas in the District Attorney's Office. Became a chief felony prosecutor. Stayed there for about 5 years and decided to leave and to go into private practice. And frankly, I hadn't looked back since. I stayed scared because I know I have to make a payroll on the 1st and 15th. And so starting back in 1984, 85, one of those years, I've always been scared because I had to make that payroll. And so I've been able to make that payroll ever since then without skipping one or having bad checks or anything like that. And frankly, I've had trusted employees, which I consider partners, that's been with me for some of them, like 28, 29 years. I wanted to be president of the United States. That's what I wanted to be, you know. and I wanted to be a lawyer and a football player. Okay, and in order, I wanted to be a football player, but it was and I played football all the way through high school. I ended up getting a basketball scholarship to go to college. Went to junior college at Paris Junior College, and decided that that wasn't a good fit for me, and was able to transfer over to the University of Texas at Arlington to play football, and played football there for 2 years. Then decided that was not what I actually wanted to do. Um, I wanted to get involved in student government politics. And so at the end of my sophomore year, now understand, I was a starting receiver also, okay? But after my sophomore year, decided to just go ahead and quit playing football and get involved in my books and also student politics. And to the coach, told him that, Coach, I'm not going to play football anymore. And he abruptly said, "You'll never be nothing." I said, "Coach, you're right. I'll never be nothing." Okay? And so I got involved in student politics, became president of the student body at UT Arlington. And frankly, that kind of launched my career, I guess you could say, in politics. Because after graduating from law school, came back to Dallas, ran for district attorney, was a Democratic nominee for district attorney, did not win that race. But after that race was over, I kind of delved into my practice to start building that up, and then ran for district attorney and was successful at running for that particular office in 92.
Sure.
And I think being a public servant is the most important part. I treat people like I want to be treated. And I tell my staff all the time, there's only one star, Robin, in the Senate office. There's only one star, and that's the constituent. Okay? And once we forget that, I no longer need to be the state senator. They no longer need to work for me. As long as we keep that type of attitude, we're successful, because we do our best to help people in need. We do our best to help students. One of the proudest projects that we have in the office is the creation of a summer internship program for college students in the district. And we've had like over 3,000 internship opportunities for students who want to work during the summertime over these many years. And so, we get an opportunity to serve as a public servant. That's what it comes down to. Well, I mean, I still like to try cases. Okay. I don't try as many as I used to, but I mean, going to court, representing people and trying to get the best result possible for them while, trying their cases. And we've been pretty successful at that. We represent cities, we represent school districts, community colleges, port authorities, things of that nature. And so we've been pretty successful at doing that. And the great thing about it is most of the people that have been working for me, they've been working for me for, on an average, I'd say probably about 15 years. And so it's sort of a family practice with all of the people that's been here, that's been able to make a good living, do great work, and be able to have the resources to, needless to say, raise a family and provide for their family.
So, and
I play dominoes. I just want to let you know, and you need to make sure this is in the story that you do, that I am a dominologist. Okay. Yes, some people have won matches against me, but guess what? Most of the people lose against me. Okay, so play those, hanging out with the grandkids and doing things with them, and taking them to museums, taking them on trips, things like that. Those are things that I like to do. What I would say is this: number one, if they're reading the story, I applaud them. That tells me that they want to keep up on current events. And the Dallas Examiner is a good newspaper to keep up on current events within our community, as well as in many instances at large. I would encourage them to keep up with events in our community. I would encourage them to get and understand the inner workings of politics, because business is politics and politics is business. They need to understand and appreciate that. And from that, continue to get that education. Some of them may say, well, it doesn't really matter. It does matter. I'm a man of, I'll be 72 years old this year. And I can tell you that you're looking at a man that's from Fraser Courts Projects in Dallas, 4968 Hampshire Place. That was my unit number. And I can tell you that the education that I received has made a difference in my life and also in my family's life. So I tell you that it will make a difference in your life if you see it through. Oh, I said see it through. The reason I said see it through, because I'm also an Omega man, a man of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And I was taught during while I was pleasure that you've got to see it through.
Douglas Owens, and I serve as the Chief Executive Officer at Fort Oak Cliff. This year, or this in August, we'll begin celebrating 10 years of service. Fort Oak Cliff was founded in the 2014-2015 school year at W.W. Bushman Elementary with my fourth grade students. And we started out with a back to school festival that has made some major impact in our community. And again, we're excited to be celebrating 10 years of service. As the CEO of an organization, I think I know that my responsibility is to guide the vision and set the vision, and be strategic about those things to make impact in the work that we're doing here, and making sure that the work that we do is aligned to mission. But when I think about, the most important things for me is giving people time, being able to sit down and just talk to a young person or to a mother or to participants in our programs. I think that is essential to myself and to the people that I'm talking to. I never want to get removed from the work in a real way. I always want to remain proximate to the people that we serve. And in serving people, you serve them best if you know them and they know you. So giving my time in a real authentic way, not scheduling a meeting or setting up a time for us to have any conference calls, but whenever the granny is sitting at the front waiting on her grandchild to come out of program, I just want to sit down and talk to her, ask her how she been doing, listen to her tell me about working outside in the yard, or sitting down talking to the young people and hearing how they enjoy being at the pool, and listening to them talk about trying to get girls' numbers, like the young teenagers, and just soaking that in, and also being able to be in a place to give them real guidance in life as well, and just share, my perspective, and help mold them so we can have a real relationship and not just not be transactional with one another. There's a plethora of challenges, in this work and in life, and in just being a Black man from Oak Cliff as well. But I think it's the paradox of leadership and all the things that come along with that is always challenging for me. Really, really being present and knowing who I need to be in that space, for who I need to be as well, because that changes per person. And I think that is the paradox of leadership. I think for me, being in this work also, I'm kind of like the middle child, I would say. Because sometimes I can be on a board or be in a meeting and in a room, and I'm the youngest person there. And in other instances, I'm sitting with a group of young people and they looking at me like my daughter herself, she's telling me, "You old school, daddy, you like old school cartoons." So, the challenge in communicating those perspectives to make sure that we have harmony and unity amongst one another. I think I'm challenged also in my role in this work. A major challenge to me as well is just being so close. I'm not someone that came in to a role and I was hired. I didn't get hired for my job. And with that, with the work that we do at Fort Oak Cliff, we're servants. We're serving people. And for me, it's being so close to the people that we serve because I have real relationships there. And sometimes it's not just a headline in the paper when it's negative things that have transpired. To me, these are personal relationships. And it's difficult sometimes to see what's going on, and continue to show up and try to provide for people. So that has been a challenge, but I will say as a community, we are resilient as a people. Um, and I think that this is a tight knit community of people, and I'm grateful to be able to serve in this space. But those would be some challenges, and I will also say balancing. Like at the end of the day, for me, my most important role as a whole is to be a good husband and a good father. That's the most important thing in my work and in my day-to-day life. You can take everything away from me, but I want to make sure that I'm doing my best at that job and being able to balance out the work that takes place with running an organization that's serving thousands of people annually, but also making sure to keep my focus and attention on the main thing in this life, and that's my wife and my two beautiful children.
So,
In my downtime, I love being at home with my family. Like that's it for me. Like in my downtime, I enjoy watching my daughter draw in her room and just make these figurines or whatever this stuff is she's drawing. She draws it's her Wednesday's universe. You never know what she'll create, but I love to watch it. And just love watching her grow. And my daughter's 8 years old now. My son is 2, and just watching him. He's Taylor Jr. And man, this dude, he just loved being with me. Like he follows me around. He just want me to hold him and sit with him. And just watching him now, like coming up to me this morning, asking me like, what is this shape? And he had a triangle in his hand. Just watching him develop and grow, and watching my children grow in a relationship with one another. They didn't know each other, but my my daughter has gotten a brother now, and then just watching her be a sister, I really enjoy that. And yeah, spending time with my wife, who's my best friend. She's my high school sweetheart. I took her to the prom. We done been together for a long time. We've been married 11 years now. And I just enjoy watching movies with her, talking to her. She's in midwifery school right now. So just listening to what she's learning in school and try to, learn that stuff to have conversations with her about it. But ultimately, I just enjoy time with my family, in my pastime. I still like playing video games. I can't wait to get the new NCAA football game, and play it, and just had a time with my PlayStation 5 at home, and that's it for me. I'm in heaven there. When I can look at the next 5 years and say and hope that we are currently working on a strategic plan right now. And when I think strategically about the next 5 years at Fort Oak Cliff, I hope that we can move the needle on specific indicators, um, to improve the quality of life within the super block, as we call it, the South Oak Cliff area. And when I look at it too, I would say in the next 5 years, I don't want Fort Oak Cliff to be just a cool, rec center. That's not the goal of Fort Oak Cliff to, just provide life-changing experiences within our space. Don't get me wrong, that is major and that's impactful, and I want to continue that work. But ultimately, I hope to be able to see the needle move for our community as a whole. In the next 5 to 10 years, I hope that Glendale Park is going to receive all $25 million for the master plan to build out this state-of-the-art park with a bridge crossing over Ledbetter. I hope that in the next 5 to 10 years that Fort Oak Cliff is able to make some major impact when we look at kinder readiness for our young people within our community, because I know that we have to get upstream in order to make some difference in our community, because we are exerting ourselves way too much where we are, and we have to get upstream in order to make the impact that we want to see to continue to that we want to see happen for years to come and generations to come. And then the next 5 to 10 years, I look forward to the young people who I met when they were 9 and 10 years old to be giving me applications to work here or potentially trying to take my job, because that's what it's about for me. Is to build. I would hope that we would be 20 years into our work. 10 years from now, I'll be, if it's 10 years from today, I'll be 45 years old. And at that point in life, I don't know how much life I have to live, but just thinking about that, I hope that I I've been able to serve as a connector and a vessel for people to get to their opportunities and maximum potential, and that we were able to build a foundation for people to stand on and go to new heights. Yeah, I do have advice for 'em. For any youth that are listening to me, I would say, be a leader and not a follower. What's the difference? A leader is one who thinks for themselves. Um, I would tell, I would ask them, what is integrity? And I would let them know integrity are the things that you do when no one is watching. That's your character. That's who you are. Always being in the right place. And then I'd ask them too, do you believe in yourself? And they say yes, I'll ask them why. If they don't have an answer, I'll tell them, always believe in yourself because you are a child of God. And I'll tell them to repeat that to themselves every single morning.
My name is Casey Thomas, former Mayor Pro Tem and Dallas City Councilman for District 3. Also served as the first Vice President for the Texas NAACP, and I'm the founder of Our Vote is Our Voice, Can You Hear Us Now, a nonpartisan nonprofit organization focused around civic engagement. Our Vote Our Voice was founded in 2020. It was founded during the pandemic. How it came about is a lot of people were concerned about individuals and how many people would actually go and vote because of the pandemic and concerns with being around people and things of that nature. And so utilized social media and made a Facebook post, said, how many of you would be interested in helping people to get out to vote during the pandemic? Got a lot of responses. And then I came back and said, okay, we're going to host a Zoom meeting. And all of you that said you would be interested in helping individuals, asked you to join the Zoom meeting. And during that meeting, we came up with the name, Our Vote is Our Voice, Can You Hear Us Now? And so we started a Facebook group, and we began doing voter education, partnering with other organizations do voter registration drives. In essence, Our Vote Our Voice is a coalition of nonprofit organizations that are all focused around voter education, voter registration, increasing voter turnout, and we've incorporated legislative advocacy because we got to make sure that we have issues that are important to us and that we're advocating for those issues becoming law. Well, I think it's a couple of things. One, providing leadership, having a presence, and then also collaboration. Reaching out to a number of our partners, our Divine Nine organizations, our faith-based community, some of our other community organizations, our League of Women Voters, other organizations that are working in the same space and partnering to make sure that we educate people about what's important and they're registered to vote and that they know that they should go out and vote in every election. One thing, one of the major challenges is consistency. Like I said, we were founded in 2020, it's 2024, and we've seen a number of organizations come and go over the past 4 years, but having consistency, growing our leadership, having individuals who are a part of the organization when it was founded, who are still a part of our leadership team, making sure that people understand the purpose and the mission, and that mission is what unites all of us around the organization, the work associated with the organization. Oh, there are a number of things. One, graduating from college. Two, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, so joining Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Three, of course, on a personal level, being a father. I have two sons, one 17 and one 15. Being elected to the Dallas City Council, then being able to serve as mayor pro tem, which was the second highest position for the city, in a city in which I was born and raised, having the opportunity to lead the city through a racial equity plan, and then being appointed as the state political action chair prior to being elected as first vice president of Texas NAACP, because my job in that capacity, which I still serve as committee chair, is to educate, inform, encourage, and then help units and branches all across the state of Texas develop a civic engagement plan so they can make sure they get people out to vote and understand and how to identify those issues that are most important to their communities. We're learning now the importance of organizing around issues and not around candidates. I enjoy going to the cigar lounge. Just being able to kind of blow some smoke or blow off smoke, no pun intended, and then just interact with others who are like-minded. And then I love jazz music. Just get an opportunity to listen to jazz, go to concerts, jazz concerts, and just enjoy listening to music. Now, one thing that a lot of people probably wouldn't consider very fun or interesting is I'm a big political news person. So when I get home, the first thing I do is I turn on local cable news to find out what's been discussed over the course of the day, get the analyst perspective on those things. And so those things that I enjoy, and then also spending time with my boys. I enjoy that, seeing them grow up, seeing them grow into young men. So those things I really, I like doing when I'm not doing the things that we're discussing today. Absolutely. I think that over the next 5 to 10 years, I mean, personally, I've started my own consulting business. I want to see that business grow and prosper, potentially be in a position to where I can lead that to my boys. Second, I think state of Texas is prime to see more Black elected officials, more individuals elected into office, preferably potentially state office, and then just continuing to educate the community about what's important. And over the next 5, 10 years, we should see major progress on the city, county, and statewide level. Advice is find your passion. That thing that you're passionate about, not the thing that's going to make you the most money, but that thing that you're passionate about, and cultivate that. Learn, find a mentor who's just as passionate as you about that you are interested in, and have them to share with you their experiences, because if you follow your passion, you'll never be broke.
Kelvin Walker. I'm the CEO of the Dallas Citizens Council. I've been there for 5 years. Been here for 5 years. It's a long story, but I think all of my prior career for 20 years before this job, I was a partner at 2 different private equity funds, most recently with Bob Johnson's private equity fund, RLJ Equity Partners, and before that, 21st Century Group, one that was started by John Ware and Tom Hicks. But my engagement in the community over those years with the Dallas Foundation, I was a board chair of the YMCA of Dallas, on the board of United Way and Methodist Health Systems. All of those relationships I developed allowed me to have the opportunity to interview for the job as CEO of the Dallas Citizens Council in 2019, and fortunate enough to get the opportunity and been there ever since. Well, it depends on what age. At age 5 or 6, like most little boys, I probably wanted to be a professional football player than actually professional baseball player. But as I got older, I was just interested in government and politics and those kinds of things. And I was involved in student activities, student government, president, those kinds of things. But when I first went to college, I went to college as a pre-med major, and that lasted about 9 weeks. And I realized not only did I not love science, I wasn't prepared for 8 more years plus a residency of something I didn't love. So I switched to business and majored in business in college. I think the most important part is being attuned to the relationship between the business community and the broader community in terms of how business can help make Dallas better. And having those personal relationships, both with elected leaders and business leaders, allows me to have some sensitivity to how business can be a force for good across the entire community.
Okay.
Challenges. Well, I mean, I think probably more to back up a bit. I grew up in small town in Georgia, Griffin, Georgia, the son of educators. So education was always a key part of what I was told is the way to move forward. But once I started work, it was more of understanding the things that aren't necessarily written down on paper. It's one thing to know how to do your job. It's another thing to make sure you can develop relationships with all the people you both work with and work for, as a way of learning what matters most as you're trying to grow your career. Because sometimes it's not the person that's the smartest or knows the most information. It's the person that also has developed relationships and is likable, frankly. So I think understanding that balance has been something that I've tried to do my entire career.
Most proud of.
Wow. Most proud of, well, probably a couple of things. I'm proud of the work that moved me to Dallas in 1999. I moved here to work with the former city manager of Dallas, John Ware, to start a private equity fund to invest in mid-sized businesses across the country. And proud of the work we did to create good investment returns for our investors, and also have a chance to invest alongside minority and women entrepreneurs over the course of my 20-year career in private equity. Sure. Married with have 2 teenage kids, so the kids end up taking up a lot of my hobby time, but I do love to play tennis, love to play golf, and just relax with friends. I think so much of what I do every day with work coincides with what I was already doing in the community. So I try to make sure I spend a little downtime just enjoying the outdoors, playing tennis or golf. Yes, on a professional level, for Dallas, I'd love to see business as well as our entire community be a lot more focused on our food deserts and food insecurity, as well as our healthcare deserts. And I think business has a big role to play there. When I think about when I decide to leave this job and retire, I'd love for the legacy to be that Dallas business stepped up to focus on the things that make our entire community better, particularly those things to make sure that prosperity is shared more evenly and broadly across our community than it is today.
Andy?
I would say from a career standpoint, I'd say look at the trends. Certainly everyone runs to technology, but I think as we look at the demographics, we need more of our young people across all parts of it to be involved, both in technology, but also healthcare. With an aging population and then a growing the growing population in Generation Z, healthcare is going to be a big part of our community, and not just being doctors and nurses and other healthcare providers, but also on the side of being healthcare administrators, those who help deliver the systems to all of our neighborhoods.
I'm Dr. Brian H. Williams. I am a trauma surgeon, author, public speaker right here in Dallas, and been here for, geez, lost count, 13, 14 years now. I work for HCA and cover several hospitals, the Medical City hospitals. So Medical City, Arlington, Plano, Denton, and McKinney. Let's see, I finished medical school in 2001. So that's when I officially was able to call myself a medical doctor. I went through 7 years of training for general surgery, 2 years of training to be a trauma surgeon and critical care specialist, and then served as an attending from that point on. Actually, I moved to Dallas. My first job post all training was here in Dallas at Parkland Hospital, which is the reason I moved here. I wanted to work at a hospital that, you know, serve the underserved. That was my mission and my reason for getting out of bed every day. Okay. Wow. So when I was growing up, I wanted to play wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. That was my favorite football team. And I played football when I was younger. And, you know, my friends and I, we all had aspirations to become professional sports legends. I didn't have the athletic talent to carry me that far. So I switched to becoming an engineer, went to the Air Force Academy, was an aeronautical engineer, and then later transitioned to medicine. The fact that as a trauma surgeon, I get to save lives. It's a really humbling responsibility to know that you make life or death decisions that can change individual lives, but also lives of their families and communities. And I don't take that lightly. Do not take that lightly. So knowing that every day when I go to work, I have a role in doing some good in the community, knowing that the work I do is hopefully making individuals, families, and communities better in some way. So I was the trauma surgeon that was working that night at Parkland Hospital when we had the mass shooting of Dallas police officers. And it's one of those nights I think about this night every day. It's just always kind of with me. I think it changed the city and a lot of people, and I'm one of those individuals. But just so you know, there's always a trauma surgeon in the hospital 24/7. And that night I was there when 7 of the officers that were shot were brought to Parkland Hospital, and 3 of whom actually died during the night on my watch. So it's something I think about it every day. And it just really changed me. I really thought more about how I could be a positive force in the community outside of the hospital. And that may sound strange, right? As doctors, we are helping people every day. But I recognized then that, particularly in regards to gun violence, now structural racism was impacting the community around me, I was limited in what I could do within the hospital. I had to somehow bridge my experience and take it outside into the community. And that was a moment that I really began to think about, what can I do more to serve Dallas? Yeah, so Dallas is the longest I've lived in one spot my entire life. I'm a military kid. I was in the military, so I'm just kind of used to every few years moving around. My wife and I came here, we've been raising our daughter, and we settled like this is our home. So I'm very committed to do what I can to make this a place that's welcoming and safe for everyone. So beyond just being a doctor in the hospital, for a while I served as the chair of the police review board. Mayor Rawlings appointed me to that position. So it was a chance to do something in the community that had nothing to do with my being a doctor. Do a lot of mentoring, particularly of young Black men that are interested in medicine, but also just professional careers out there doing that. try to be involved in as many sort of forums that I'm invited to talk about issues that are of big social impact. Many times it's around healthcare because that's obviously my specialty. And most recently, I was really compelled to try to do what I can. That's why I ran for Congress. I ran to represent the 32nd Congressional District, wanting to take all that experience that I had here in Dallas. I also served in Washington, and how could I do what I can to bridge all that to just make communities that were safe and welcoming where everyone can thrive. And that work still goes on, Robin. I'm still continuing to do that work. Just have to pivot and figure out how to have the maximum impact, right? How do you have the maximum impact in our lives with the short time we have on Earth? That was Dallas County. Judge Jenkins asked me if I'd be part of that. I don't know if I call it a task force, but it was basically where we knew the pandemic was coming, right? And we knew it was just going to devastate communities of color. So we wanted to do is what can we do to prepare for that, to look at our response through the lens of health equity, to ensure that those most in need would not be forgotten. So that was the expertise I brought to that. Because even though people see me as a trauma surgeon, I talk a lot about how we can reduce gun violence. I've also served at many county hospitals, like safety net hospitals across the country, which is why I got into medicine in the first place, was how do we improve healthcare for the underserved? So seeing that and how the systems put people at risk was how I brought that sort of health equity focus to the COVID response for Dallas County. Yeah, my book is it's called The Bodies Keep Coming: Dispatches from a Black Trauma Surgeon on Racism, Violence, and How We Heal. And essentially, this was a call to action to address these bigger societal issues of gun violence, structural racism, health inequity. But it's a memoir, so there's a lot of storytelling within the book. You're seeing this through my eyes as I've gone through all this, and I bring you into the trauma bay, into the hospital, into my life. And I tell people that when they walk up to me and say, "I read your book," they know a lot more about me than I know about you. But I wanted that. I wanted you to feel like you were in the story, not just me lecturing you, and getting a lot of good response from it. And I enjoy the fact that it's actually touched a lot of people. One of the biggest challenges I've had to overcome, I would say that after the shooting in July 2016, I was lost for quite a while after that, really just struggling with what it is I should do with my expertise and my experience and my life to serve the community. And I spent years and years with training to become a trauma surgeon. I liked teaching. I liked being in the OR. But there was something that said, like, there's more you need to do, right? And I was struggling with do I make that leap and that transition to something else, or do I just stay in the box that I am in? And I think there are people that can relate to that, right? Something's off. You really can't always define it, and you can either stay stuck where you are, or you can move through that, even though you have no idea what's on the other side. And that was probably one of the most difficult times in recent years that I can think of. And I'm happy to say, hey, now I'm here talking to you, Robin. So I think I made the right decision. Oh, I think the most important thing is being a husband and father, and just becoming better at it over the years, right? Certainly, I don't think there's no manual for that, but looking back and where I could have been better, and just trying to create a world and an environment where my daughter feels valued and knows that she can be a success. Just trying to pass that wisdom on to her is where that's where I feel most proud of. Watch her and think, okay, sometimes I wonder if I'm doing it right, and now then she'll do something that makes me realize, okay, she's gonna be all right. I'm a musician, Robin. I play drums. Been playing drums since I was 3 years old. So I just love to just get behind the kit, put the headphones in, blast music, and just wail away. So that's music. Music's my thing.
Okay.
Wow, you're getting up these existential questions, Robin. As far as accomplishment, what I want to do is to continue to be a person of service, right? I've always been motivated by how I can use my skills and experience to help other people. I know it sounds cliche, but how do you make the world a better place? And this is how I want to live my life. It's not about the titles or the positions or the money. It's like, when I go to bed at night, do I feel like I've done something to serve humanity? I just want to continue to do that and just remain focused, because it is really, if you're not careful, you can get off track. I've done that. I got off track. I talk about it in my book. And you have to be very, very focused on what it is you want to do going forward. I'm at that point in my life where I'm pretty clear about how I want to live my life. So just continue to be a person of service. Yeah, so and my advice to the youth is funny, because my wife was just asking me something about this earlier today. It's just that, it is okay to be yourself, right? Each of us has gifts that we can bring to this world, and we may not recognize them in ourselves, but there are others around you that do. And you just never know whose life you may touch just by being yourself. So just focus on what your why. Like, why do you want to do whatever it is that you do? Not what you're doing, not who you're doing it for, but why. Because those are your core values. And your core values, no matter what, they should not change. Your circumstances may change, but your values, what drives you, should not.
In business 39 years. When I first met her, that's when they introduced me to hospital. 39 years. And she told me that I was going to ask her. I've advertised in her paper 5 years straight, 52 weeks a year, even during COVID.
Even during COVID?
Yeah, even during COVID. So I was with the Dallas Weekly too, and the Dallas Weekly kind of slowed down. And I'm with Miss Bell. The black presence is important. I tell my son and daughter, when they come into the office, the black paper, I say, read it, take it, at least read one article. At least read one article. That's where we got the truth from. Right. Back in the day, from the black press. So I'll always pick it up every week. So if you ever been tied to an office, so I work for Exxon, even though there was times I was out in the field, a lot of times you go downtown, you get downtown Houston, 7:30 in the morning, you go up on the elevator, you're on the 43rd floor, you come out at lunch, 45 minutes at lunch, you go back upstairs, 43rd floor on the elevator. When I first opened, and I was on the corner of Pond Freeway and Ledbetter, Boot Club.
Yeah, I used to come here a lot. Yeah.
I'm looking around, it's like, what's everybody driving around? I thought everybody's, like my parents worked in factories. Yeah. At 8 o'clock, 7:30, you're supposed to go to a factory work. You're supposed to be empty, you're supposed to be supposed to work. So I enjoyed the freedom. Second, I enjoyed the young brothers and sisters. Okay. So some of them that I hired, they're from a place called Woodland City. It's the projects in Pleasant Grove. So Pleasant Grove was already wrong side of the track. They told me, hey man, you're in Pleasant Grove, but we're on the south side of Pleasant Grove, across the railroad tracks. So you went on the wrong side of the tracks of Pleasant Grove. And they would tell me, well, I got fired from the grocery store across the street. So I said, well, what happened? And if they told me what I felt was the truth, I gave them a shot. And so I enjoy being with my people. They introduced me to rap and hip hop. They were good people. I began to meet the teachers, the principals, the ministers, the pastors, and I enjoyed being in the community. So I enjoyed that. Then there's a book called To Serve the Living, and it talks about the funeral home business and the black funeral home business. It starts in Africa and comes to America. And it talks about if you're a businessman in the community or a businesswoman, you serve a lot of roles. People come to you for counsel. People come to you for donations. people respect you. And so I started being the guy in the community. And then because I would stand up, just like a young brother like you would come in and maybe start cussing. And I was like, hey man, it's a family restaurant. Can you not cuss? Can you not put your feet on my table? Some of them would want to fight. And we would close, I said, I just want you to hit me first. But guys would come back and sometimes apologize because sometimes, but you're right, black man's trying to open up a business in the community and you just want to disrespect the white man on the corner, And we tried to run print. Everybody had to wear a tie. Even my maintenance man had to wear a tie. We picked up the paper outside every 30 minutes. I remember a lady came in one time, I had been open a couple years. She said, I like that. I said, like what? Everybody had on a tie. She said, when you open, and I knew a black man was opening, I figured it was going to be trash and paper, the roof was going to be leaking, the toilet's going to flood. But I would tell my team, hey guys, we want to run this as if we're one person out there. We want to be first class. I told my team now, we're mixing like Sewell. You go in a Sewell dealership?
Yeah.
Top? Yeah. I spend a lot of money on my facilities, a lot of time on doing things. Of course, you got to change with the times. There was a time I wouldn't hire somebody with a beard or earrings, tattoos. You got to change with the time. There was even a time where you had to wear a sleeve. But now, I'm going to tell you, an 18-hour day was nothing. You might close, like somebody didn't show up. Especially when I have one restaurant. And say if I came in 4 o'clock that day, I'm going to close anyway. Even if I came in at 10 a.m. and I don't closing at midnight, get home at 1, but I'm scheduled to open the next day. So I get there, I got to get there 5 a.m. to open. So those were not happy days, but they're happy. Right. Okay? They're happy. Yes, ma'am.
Now I know another guy, so my good friend Jeff has another best friend. He owns the same McDonald's. You may know him, he's in Miami. So I met him, this guy, I forgot his name, but I met him at Jeff's Super Bowl party one year. So how many African American McDonald's are there in the United States?
Yeah, at one time we had 300. It's about 175 right now.
Yes.
So number 5 is my son. No, my accountant. He said I'm a plotter. So what that means, the tortoise in the hair? The tortoise in the hair, if you heard that? I'm not the hare, I'm the tortoise. So he said I'm a plotter. Number 4 is my son. And he said, my dad is consistent. Okay, number 3, I walked out of a meeting with a franchisee. So as a seasoned franchisee, if there's a new franchisee that has a problem with McDonald's, we advocate, instead of getting an attorney, get an older franchisee to come in and talk to the local president and try to work it out. So I came out of one of those meetings. I probably had 6, this guy probably had 1. And we talked to the vice president. And when we walked out, he said, man, you're a diplomatic militant. So that's number 3. And then I had a first cousin, like a brother, and when I was in college, he said, you're quietly confident. So that's probably like 8 words, right? So number 1 is, I gotta get to, so number 1 is from my daughter, okay? And I'm a musician, and I started playing the piano at 5, but when I was 50, I learned how to play the saxophone. So I'm playing with this little jazz band. It's a Purdue function. We had an alumni event over at Babs Barbecue. I don't know if you know what Babs is over there. Babs is some brothers, but on Babs Barbecue.
Yeah.
And I'm playing with a guy, Jeff Acock, who played with Johnny Taylor, and he taught me how to play the sax. So I'm playing with Johnny Taylor, and my daughter took a picture. I'm not on social media. Oh, and I wore a dashiki, actually in honor of a guy at Purdue who played the sax, and he was the Black Culture Center director for many years, Tony Zamora. So Tony was very sick, he didn't come. So I wore the dashiki and played the Heisman Brothers, For the Love of You, Isaac Brothers, Ronnie Isaac. Yeah. So my daughter put online, my dad is, and this is the quote, cool AF. And I didn't know what AF meant. And you know what AF meant? I'm like like you. I didn't. You know what AF is? Hey, you know? Hey.
As I calmly spread my butter.
Hey, you know what? No one would tell me. Hey, you know what?
How did you find out what it was? Yeah.
I had to ask my son. And he started laughing. He said, oh, Dad, ha, 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 ha. I would have expected him to have said that. But if you know my daughter, it's like, but anyway, so that's number one. So if you piece those together, that's 9 words from people over time that have defined me. One, I think, is 3 words. Hers is 3, but with 1 or 2 words. So anyway, I thought that might come up. So I was prepared for
I
that.
remember the question I was going to ask. Now, I heard this. I'm sure if it's true. Did you come up with the menu for McDonald's when they started doing those cheaper meals, like the dollar meal?
I always say a lot of times people will change careers in their 30s. They kind of change. And I wonder what mine would be, and that's what happened. So I actually opened when I was 37. The first thing I tell people financially, whether you, especially if you're trying to get in business, live beneath your means. And I know you, as a banker, that gentleman was a banker with Cross Bank, Brother Cook. Live beneath your means. And I don't know if you guys heard of Michael Finley, who used to play for the Mavericks. We were on a panel together one time. His point was he tells the rookies, stash now so you can flash later. Okay? And I told people, live beneath your means. So if you know at the table, I own 25 restaurants. Do you know how I live? Probably like I have 5 restaurants. Okay? Because I've seen a lot of people go out of business. Right? So live beneath your means, financially.
Okay. And but what made you stop teaching?
What made me start teaching? DISD cut my position.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily.
have a choice.
That really happened. But again, it was the bond. You know, I had the opportunity to go work at another organization to continue to build out the place-based work I was doing before I wanted it to go. And I didn't even know what a nonprofit was. You know, we just did this back to school festival, like 2,000 people showed up that first year. And after that first year, you know, someone said, you need to start a nonprofit. I didn't know what that was. I just put this event on for the community. And I got the opportunity to apply for a role that would help me develop that through a grant from the Kellogg Foundation. I originally turned it down, but a really important woman named Sama Rogers, she's now the superintendent.
Yes.
So Ms. Rogers had me under her wing, and she kind of nudged me and was like, you need to take this job. And I did. I built for next.
Okay. That's really amazing. When did you realize that your chosen career path would be the way you were called to impact and serve the masses?
When did I realize that?
Like, this is what I want to do. This is me.
I'm still growing into that.
Okay. Okay.
My career path, I guess, comes with a lot of other things that I didn't get into it for. I switched up from going to law school to serve children. And now serving as the CEO of a multi-million-dollar movement is different. You know, that's not what I didn't get into this work to, do an audit. I didn't get into this work to go into finance, to leadership, HR, and all those different things. My thing was to serve. So now, to me, in the position I am, with a staff of 20 people, managing a facility, some 10 acres, multi-million-dollar budget, a board, all of those things. That's not what I got into it for. So I'm still learning those skills. I'm still becoming that person. I didn't go to business school. I didn't go to school to learn these things. But here I am, I'm adapting. I'm from Oak Cliff, so I'm resilient.
What that means, you hustle?
I'm a hustler. I'm all the above. I mean, you put something in front of me, I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. We're resilient people, so I say that part. Like, I can adapt.
Let's spend some time on where you want to go at big kids, right? I think we got to go get it. I think it's not as much where they are. See where they are. I think we got to raise another generation of men who want to go and get them and walk with them and help them to
establishment with a leader that was revered here in the community. Did you ever find any challenges kind of paving your own way?
I mean, without a doubt, right? I think whenever you're following somebody, they have a way of doing stuff, they have an approach they take, and so that presents a lot of challenges because the leader I followed was so incredibly successful. So everybody, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody thought we were going to fail. Everybody said he'll never make it won't work, it won't last. And that not only challenged me, but challenged us, the church. But then we had to learn to just be who we are. Keep working, put your plan together, step by step. Don't try to do it overnight. And over time, we saw God give us success. But the pressure of people giving up on you and doubting you and discrediting you was super hard because you also have your own questions. You're doubting yourself. You're trying to figure out, I was 28, 29. I'm like, who am I? What kind of style? How am I going to do this? But I found out that if you just trust God and then put your plan together, build a great team, God can do it. We've been doing it like 15 years. This has been really a staple of our ministry is really investing in men and building them up because we feel like they face so many challenges. And really when the man gets right, it impacts everybody. The marriage, the family, the kids, the church, the city. So we just believe that foundation. So I think we're doing a good job. But I got this ideal about this 20-somethings where I invite men from 35 to 25. And we walk together for discipleship for 1 year. It's been in my mind for about 3 or 4 years. I may start it, but I think there's more we can do to disciple and to mentor and to invest in our young men. So I'm excited about them. I believe in them. But I also got some ideas. We ain't quite, we talk about this plan. We ain't birthed them yet. But I think what they need is just mentoring. What they need are other men that are willing to be honest, transparent, and accessible to them so that they can ask questions. When I first came to our church, I was 24 years old, and there were men that just made themselves accessible.
Mama Bill. Me and Molly talk probably about 5 times a week, especially during election season. I want to thank James. I want to also thank my fiance, State Representative Aisha Davis. She'll be representing House District 109, District 4, led by Paul Sherman. It's important when you're in leadership roles to have someone who's going to encourage you and support you, make you feel appreciated. And she is a model example of that. And I'm honored to one day be able to call her my wife. When I got the flyer and I found out all of the men that were going to be recognized tonight, I looked at my phone and I said, I got every one of these guys' cell numbers. And so each of them can.
I've known that Mr. Parrish has a building named after him, the Parrish Career Development Center at Fisk University, all the way in Nashville, Tennessee.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say greetings, my brothers and sisters. How are you this evening? That's great. Before I get to my comments, remember Casey said he sent out a text? And I texted back and said, I got $50 that Casey's gonna talk and hog the mic. You saw Thompson came up, right? You know about that power theory. So, for Ms. Molly Bell, the black press is very important. Yes. It's very important. And also black business is very important. When I first met Ms. Molly Bell, really to meet her was actually in Austin. And I just whispered to her, I said, how many years have you been in business? And I can't remember then, but she's now been in business 39 years, I believe, correct? And most small businesses, 2/3 of them fail in the first year. And another 30% fail in the first 5 years. So she just gets a hand for being in business. And to me, my responsibility as a businessman in the community who happens to be black or black businessman who happens to be in the community is to support black businesses. Yes, so I asked her today, how many years have I advertised with her newspaper? So it's been 5 years. She said 52 weeks of the year, even during COVID. And we hope to continue that. So we'll continue supporting Black business, the Black press, and the Examiner. For our table, what we came up with, Senator West, and as a table was there one thing. And they said inspiring and don't quit. Inspiring, don't quit. So, you know, the number changes, but you know the number of McDonald's. What you may not know is my one and only application was rejected. It was rejected in one of these programs. I started talking about service stations. So with 2 degrees, back then we only had full serve, we didn't have self-serve. So I was waiting on cars, cleaning restrooms, time clocks, uniforms, customer complaints. So inspiring, don't quit, and I also said if you want to get in business, live within 3 weeks. So with that, I'm about to close. I want to make sure I say hello to and thankful to my family, my wife, my woman, my friend. Jewel is in the back, her sister. My sister is here. And this guy and I were recruited. He was recruited out of Brooklyn to run the 400 meters. I was recruited out of Hammond and Gary to run 800 meters for Purdue University. And we came in as freshmen. And we've been friends ever since. He wound up from Brooklyn, he wound up in LA as a teacher and a coach and a principal. And now he and his 2 sons who have families live in Houston. So he's up here, Richard Gabriel, my brother, my friend, my teammate. You did win some Big Ten medals too in the 4x4. But with that, I close by saying, let's stay together. In Swahili, Pamoja Tuta Shinda. Can we say it together? Pamoja? Tuta Shinda. Yeah, together we can win. Thank you very much.
Reading the classics. And one of my favorite happened to be Homer's Iliad. And in the Iliad, Achilles had a tutor. And the tutors taught Achilles that the goal was to be a speaker of words and a doer of deeds. And I grew up in a family where none of the men in my family went to college. My father never went to college. My grandfather might have been in college for 15 minutes, but we can't confirm that. And they were doers of deeds. They were men who worked hard, who built things, sometimes with their hands, sometimes with their faith. The women in my family were the speaker of words. And my grandmother told me the goal was for me to be both. And to live in communities where we inspire people to do both, because our people need people who do both. As the evening draws to a close and we go off on our ways, I just want to say to each of you, my prayer for you, my dream for you, is that you will always be speakers of words and doers of deeds, and unapologetically do so on behalf of the people who look like us, who come from the places we come from, who don't always have representatives who do. So thank you.
We were saying, listen, I want to wear a suit, I want to carry a briefcase. I just want to see what it's like. And I watch now, sitting in this room with these incredible men that have shown that I never saw men doing what the men in this room are doing. I didn't see men in business, I didn't see men in the other spaces like I'm seeing today. And so these are my heroes, these are men I look up to. So I'm honored to be in this room, I'm honored to continue the legacy that my father taught me, to continue the legacy that my father taught me. My father and mom also taught me that word, if you can help somebody along the way, then your living has not been in vain. One of my mentors, Dr. Wright L. Lashley, a good friend of Dr. Harry Robinson and Liz Museum, often said these words: service is the rent you pay for the space that you occupy on earth. My hope, my vision, my dream, my encouragement to each of you is to make sure that you spend your life serving others. These are men I look up to. And so I'm honored to be in this room. I'm honored to continue the legacy that my father taught me. My father and mom also taught me that word: if you can help somebody along the way, then your living has not been in vain. One of my mentors, Dr. Wright L. Lasseter, a good friend of Dr. Harry Robinson and this museum, often said these words: service is the rent you pay for the space that you occupy on earth. My hope, my vision, my dream, my encouragement to each of you is to make sure that you spend your life serving others. But no matter what God has given you, no matter where God has placed you, make sure that you use your life, you use your opportunities to be able to impact and influence others. Dallas has been built by men and women that have made their passion to commit to serve and impact and influence the community in a positive way. And we are all the better because of that. So I just want to say thank you so much for this honor. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to encourage you, for each of us, to keep living out God's purpose on your life wherever God has placed you, and that God is using you to make a difference. I also want to acknowledge my family that's also present tonight, my wife in the back. Thank you so much for coming to celebrate with us. She's the joy behind it all. And then my son, he is an 11th grader, headed out in high school, and so he's here tonight. So I want to thank you as well. To the Concord Church family, I love all of you.